Hi, my dear Astro family. We are going to be just doing an educational video because I had this question from a student of mine. What happens if the ruler of the nodes are in connection to the ruler of the rising sign? So, meaning that, for example, imagine that we have got North Node currently in the sign of Pisces, and that is ruled by Jupiter in a traditional way. And for example, the ruler of your rising sign is Mars, and they are about to be forming a trine. So, what does that mean? First of all, let's just break down the components for a second. We've got the ruler of the rising sign, which is also called as the chart ruler, and that planet represents you. It symbolizes your personality, your physical body, how you approach the world. Let's call it as the driver of your life. Its condition and placement show the central themes of your personal journey. So, for example, if I have got the ruler of the rising sign in the 10th house, then somehow my life is going to be centered around work. Now, the North Node is a point of destiny, your karmic lessons, the qualities we are meant to be developing in this lifetime. The planet that rules the sign your North Node is in acts as a guide or a gatekeeper to that destiny. It's the tool you use to unlock your North Node potential. So, what it means is that, for example, you have got the North Node in the fifth house. Let's say your destiny is connected to have a child. And the ways that you are going to be unlocking the potential of having a child is going to be, let's say, the moon, which is the ruler of your north node. And the moon is placed in the 10th house, for example. So, in that case, you are going to be trying to have a child through work. So, this could be a position, for example, which is about giving birth to a creative project. So, of course, you can interpret this in many ways. I just want to give you some pointers here, actually. Now, when we have got these two planets in aspect, it means somehow that your personal identity is tied to your evolutionary purpose. So, you cannot easily just separate your, let's say, day-to-day life from your larger soul mission. It regardless whether it is a hard aspect or a positive aspect or a harmonious aspect. The harmonious aspects are considered to be the sextile and the trine, and the difficult aspects are considered to be the conjunction, oppositions, and squares. However, of course, you can be looking at these aspects because they might be giving you a bit more kind of like intricate information about what exactly happens here. The conjunction is a fusion. Your identity is basically your soul's purpose. The themes of that planet and the sign involved, of course, will be a central part of your entire life. And you are literally driven somehow by your own destiny. And expressing your core personality naturally moves you along your evolutionary path. Or, for example, if it's a square, then square would represent a tension. So we've got a tension happening between our personal identity and our soul's path. It may feel like who I am is in conflict with what I am supposed to do. And of course, there is a friction for a reason. Of course, this friction is gonna force you to grow and to evolve. So you might face obstacles that require you to fundamentally adjust your personality or approach to life in order for you to align with your destiny. And the opposition is, for example, something that is about awareness as well as balance. So, of course, your chart ruler, which is your identity, and your soul's path, which is the North Node ruler, kind of like are in a tug of war. So, we might not be able to see the purpose of going into that direction, or your purpose is going to be projected onto others, let's say onto key people in your life, which are family, relationship, co-workers, and so forth. So the key would be there to integrate. We would need to be balancing out our personal needs of our identity, of course, with the demands of that evolutionary path. So to get the full story, what you need to consider here is that the planets that are involved, like I said, we are going to be experiencing a Mars and Jupiter trine in a second. The connection between Mars and Jupiter can feel very different from, one between the Moon and Saturn. Then you have to be considering the sign. The signs color how these planetary energies express themselves. So, meaning that, for example, the moon in Scorpio is going to be reacting to something in a very different way than, for example, moon in Libra. And the houses show where in your life this dynamic plays out. For example, if it's in your 10th house, it's going to be playing out in your career. If it's in your 7th house, it's going to be playing out in your relationship, and so forth. So, the general concept of having the North Node ruler and the chart ruler being in aspect, basically, who you are is the key to unlocking what you are meant to do in this lifetime. But which part of your identity or what kind of destiny is it? That's a very specific question. You would need to be able to look at your entire chart. Maybe if it's the first and the sixth house are somehow combined here, that you are meant to be developing your body. Or if it's the first and the 10th house, for example, then you are meant to be developing a public persona. So the houses are going to be super important here. And the aspects are going to talk to you about whether these energies are connected easily or with attention. And also, you can even be looking at how the two planets would get along. So, for example, Moon and Saturn are not necessarily that friendly to each other. So, here is a bit of a recipe. Find the chart ruler, and whether you use modern or traditional concept, it's completely up to you. What I mean by that is that if you've got an Aquarius rising sign and you want to use Uranus as the ruler of Aquarius, feel free. So the chart ruler is going to be the one that is actually ruling your ascendant. And then find the house it's in. That house shows the area of life where your core identity is expressed. Find the North Node ruler, the planet that rules the sign your North Node is in, and find the house it's in. And that house shows the area of life where that is the key to your soul's growth and destiny. So let's have a look at a couple of examples. Let's suppose that your chart ruler is in the first house, which is the house of self, identity, the physical body. And let's say that the North Node or its ruler is in the first house too. Or your North Node is in Aries, which is ruled by Mars, or even Taurus. Then in this case, you have got a karma connected to your own physical body. Or am I meant to be public? Well, if the chart ruler is in the 10th house, which is the house of reputation, and your North Node or its ruler is in the 10th house, or the sun or the sign Leo is heavily involved, for example, in this configuration, then yes, the answer would be that you are meant to be public. Imagine that if your chart ruler is in the 7th house, which is connected to relationship, your identity is somehow tied to a partnership, and your soul's purpose will be found through those one-to-one connections. Or if the chart ruler is in the 2nd house, which represents your money and values, your identity is tied to building security and self-worth, and this is the key to your life path and so forth. So, in very short, look at those houses. They will tell you the specific where and what of your life story is. So, this is just a short video. I wanted to answer that question that arrived a few days ago to my email box from a student of mine. Of course, we can do that exactly the same way with the South Node and its ruler as well. The South Node is meant to be a comfort zone or ingrained habits. But also evolutionary astrology calls it as a karmic indicator, such as these are talents and life experiences that we kind of gathered through many lifetimes. So somehow we have perfected that. And if it's very interesting, the combination right now, what we've got in the sky is because if you think about that, we have got the North Node in the sign of Pisces, traditionally ruled by Jupiter, and therefore the South Node, it is in the sign of Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury. So now Mercury and Jupiter are going to be making a trine coming up, which means that the past and the future somehow are about to meet. And in order for us to, the evolutionary path with that North Node and South Node is very much about having to let go of the perfectionism and having to integrate a bit more intuition, being able to go with the flow right now. And that shrine would somehow indicate to me that we are meant to be utilizing our analytical skills to be able to see what is ahead of us. So, but I'm not here to talk about necessarily about this Mercury and Jupiter trine. I've done that in my weekly forecasts. And if you wish to get a bit more insight about the weekly energy patterns or how it might be affecting your rising sign, then actually you can sign up on my membership program. It's available on YouTube as well as on my website. And each sign will receive about 15 to 20 minutes breakdown of the weekly energy patterns, depending, of course, on how busy the week ahead is. So thank you for being here. If you like the video, press like, follow me, share the video with others, and I will see you in my next video. Take care. Bye bye.